Shalum, Shalum, and welcome. Welcome to White Rose family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present before an awakening nation. My brothers and sisters, you will see at times that I use backdrops with different colors. And though the scripture does not order these colors, I believe they line up with a method in which to help one understand the purposes of the 7 major feast days. And I speak of this in earlier segments of White Rose family. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, all that is necessary for teaching and educating us will come to the surface. And there are those whom this will help and those whom it will not. Make no mistake, O Yashar'al, the key in praying and discerning what the Almighty Father has is when someone presents something as a teaching instrument or a teaching method, ask yourself, does it connect with what is written in the scriptures? Does it line up with the scriptures? Black and white, my brothers and sisters, is a color that I've chosen as in reference to the Passover. You see, my brothers and sisters, we were in darkness. And upon following the instructions of the Almighty Father, upon responding to his drawing power that drew us to Yahushua Mashiach, following the instructions that are laid out by him, which includes his 10 commandments, his laws, his statutes, his living instructions and directions. Prior to that, we were in darkness, and out of his instructions and following and obeying these instructions, we came into life. We have the first Passover before Yashar'al came out of Mitzrayim, and we have the ultimate Passover through Yahushua Mashiach. And though the atonement represents the blood, I believe the Feast of the Passover is saying it is essential that we follow the education, the learnings, the teachings, the instruction as it relates to the Passover that brought about evidence of how we receive salvation. So I believe we receive salvation through the blood of the Lamb. With that said, O Yashar'al, this particular segment of White Rose family will represent a playlist that is entitled Restoring Dominion. And I want to talk about how it is important for us to discover our original dominion assignments from a spiritual perspective. And yes, I will also talk about from a natural and practical perspective. But let's set the stage, O Yashar'al. End times are here. It will bring extreme humbling times. It will bring widespread destruction. It will bring massive deaths. It will bring times of obedience to those who must fulfill the 144,000, 12,000 Hebrews from each of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al, as it is written in Revelation 7th chapter. You see, if you go back into Genesis, there's one tribe, there's one son that is not mentioned. So it's important that you look at Revelation 7th chapter. And not only stop with the 144,000, but also be mindful in the 9th verse of the 7th chapter, it speaks of a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues. This includes other Hebrews and Gentiles, or Abraham and Goyim. Goyim meaning other nation. Abraham representing the seed, singular, of Abraham. My brothers and sisters, with all the things that are getting ready to happen in end times, with all the things that have occurred, with all the things that we are facing, if you believe that Yashar'al will be gathered from Babylon or from the four corners of the earth, if you believe that there will be a final exodus, of which I do, have you given thought to, as you begin to journey, what challenges you may face? Let me give you an example. What if you were heading towards the promised land, and you came to and you're in the Western Hemisphere, and you came to the Rocky Mountains, and all the other pathways to cross the Rocky Mountain was blocked by militia groups who trying to contain, maintain, and or steal from those who have resources and supplies that they want. And so the Most High directs you towards a path where they are not. In other words, these militia groups are blocking highways and roads, but the Most High direct you on a trajectory and you come up against this mountain. Wouldn't it be phenomenal, amazing, and a fulfillment of Scripture if you're able to say, if I am indeed being led by the Almighty Father Yahuah to move towards the east, let these mountains flatten or part an opening so that me and those that are with me can continue on our journey eastward. Wouldn't that be a phenomenal thing, that the mountain is moved out the way so that you can continue moving eastward? Wouldn't it be an amazing thing if, as you begin to move eastward, those in the Western Hemisphere, specifically the United States, if you're moving eastward, and because of the infrastructures crumbling, again, militia groups blocking the bridges, trying to stop you from your journey of being gathered from the four corners of the earth, and you come to a river, wouldn't it be amazing if you can cause an earthquake to open up a sinkhole and drain that river so that you and those that are with you as you are being led by the Almighty Father can walk across dry land and cross the river in spite of militia groups trying to guard the bridges? Wouldn't it be amazing, O Yashar'al, if someone was chasing after you to destroy you, and you can say, if I am indeed a servant of the Almighty Father, and he is indeed ordering our steps, in the name of Yahusha, let the mountains move and form a hedge to block those that come after us. Or let the waters return to the dry ground that we cross. Wouldn't it be amazing, O Yashar'al, if we see that in walking in obedience, that we have such power to command the elements, fire, mountains, even the trees. If you believe this is possible, my brothers and sisters, or you want to know how can it be, this particular series, this specific series, is directed to you to recognize the attributes that are necessary to witness the power and might of the Almighty Father flow through you. It doesn't guarantee where if I do X, I'll get Y and Z, but it prepares the mind, the body, for the inward man joined with the Almighty Father to demonstrate a power that we've never seen. Wouldn't it be amazing to call on the wind to blow if someone was shooting rockets at us? Wouldn't it be amazing that in spite of this outbreak of diseases and plagues, this COVID-19 and other diseases, Ebola, measles, any fatal diseases, wouldn't it be amazing to say, if I am being ordered to move with those who are of my family, who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, those who are indeed chosen to fulfill end times tasks, wouldn't it be amazing to call out and be spared of diseases and fatal sicknesses? Yashar'al, this is a segment, this is a series that is critical during these end times. And I want you to ask yourself, would you put a 2-year-old's hand by a button that can release a nuclear weapon? Would you put a gun in the hand of someone that's unlearned, untrained, undisciplined? Would you put a baby behind the wheel of a vehicle? Would you put a blind man in the cockpit of an airplane? Would you put someone that is sickly and weak and disabled at the helm of a ship. I say this to say this, my brothers and sisters. As we go into this segment, I will present things that are necessary that will prepare our minds, our bodies, and our spirit to yield to the voice of the Almighty Father and witness his power flow through us. In such a way, man will know that it was the power and might of the Almighty Father. You see, just like with Musa, with Moses, when he went before Pharaoh, it got to the point where Pharaoh wanted to counteract and throw countermeasures. But then the power and might of the Almighty Father prevailed. This particular series, if ever one you were to listen to, consider it. And I use the scheme black and white because it requires instructions to begin to discern the life that the Most High has for us and ahead of us. Now, as I get more into this, and I will present some scriptures, my brothers and sisters, and as I go through this series, I will present scriptures that will state confirmation to the words I just presented before you. But before I go any further, let me read the following. Warning and disclaimer. The information contained in White Rose Family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahushua Mashiach. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised, this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age due to its content. And I say this, my brothers and sisters, to be compliant with this media platform and those that I use. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, or reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please note, I am not affiliated with anyone or organization with similar names. With that stated, my brothers and sisters, let's get into this. Restoring dominion. Discover our original dominion assignments. I will present the case in addition to what I said in the opening of this segment. I will present the case, my brothers and sisters, that there are certain powers, there are certain abilities that we were given from the very beginning. And I will state the case of how we allowed the assigned dominion to be released. And let me say this, my brothers and sisters. What if your underwear told you, I need pants, or I need a dress? And what if your dress or pants spoke out and told you, this isn't enough, I need a coat? Now you might say, that's crazy. Why would he, what does this have to do with anything? Well, consider this, my brothers and sisters. When the Almighty Father created man and woman, at the time he created man and woman, one man, singular, they were naked. And when they ate the forbidden fruit, they recognized they was naked. I will submit to you, my brothers and sisters, this is when the spirit, the inward man, relinquished its dominion, its assigned dominion. I'm going to bring some scriptures, bear with me. Released its dominion to the flesh. For it was in Adam and Eve's mental faculties after eating physical fruit, their brain took over and said, I'm naked. And so therefore they had to put on leaves and so forth. Well, Yahuah allowed them to be clothed with leaves. But I will present the case how when Yahuah, the Almighty Father, asked him, who told you were naked? See, they ate a physical fruit, and their physical eyes and mind began to churn, and they relinquished their dominion, their authority to the flesh at that point. But the Most High had a plan that will go and be will go through a process for years to come that will bring restoration in that dominion that he assigned us. I will present that case in this series. And it is important because as end times come, there will be times when you may find yourself asking the mountain to be moved, asking the tree to fall to the ground, asking the rivers to dry up or fill up, asking the rain to come or retreat. We will witness, in spite of all that is unfolding, asking for an umbrella of protection from the Almighty Father to march through all the obstacles that would try or attempt to stop the gathering from the four corners of the earth. You see, Yashar'al, there will be forced movement. And the wicked one knows that. And he will put obstacle courses and things where you say, well, I don't want to go that way. I got to go through that disease, COVID-19 quarantine field, or that disease or muddied, or that land that's been destroyed and it's on fire. I got to go past that volcano. You might think this is imaginary, my brothers and sisters, but there are those who these words will land on, and they will understand that the power and might of the Almighty Father will be spoken by their words as they are directed, as we are directed, and we are about to see some phenomenal things. Let's get into some scriptures. I know some of you are saying, you're doing all this talking, show me some scriptures. Come with me, O Yashar'al. Revelation 1:8 says, I am the Aleph and the Tav, beginning and end, says Yahuah, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty One. So let's first get it straight that he is the Almighty One. The Almighty Yahuah is the beginning and the end of all matters. Now let us also look at Revelation 22:10 through 13. He says, and he said to me, do not seal the words of the prophecy of this book because the time is near. He who does wrong, let him do more wrong. He who is filthy, let him be more filthy. He who is righteous, let him be more righteous. And he who is set apart, let him be more set apart. I want you to understand what it's saying here, my brothers and sisters. End time will prove that we will come across conditions and events where we don't have time to be trying to share the good news of Yahushua Mashiach. They have made the decision. We will discover those who we don't need to be wasting time trying to argue, debate, or convince them whether we're the true Hebrews or Abraham. We don't have time. If they are in that position, let them be in that position, and they will get worse. But he who is righteous will see that they will grow in righteousness by keeping their eyes focused on the Almighty Father. It goes on to say, Revelation, I'm in the 22nd chapter of Revelation, 12th verse and 13. And see, I am coming speedily. My reward is with me to give to each according to his work. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. So, my brothers and sisters, dominion. He who is the Almighty One is Yahuah. Know this, my brothers and sisters. It is important for us to know how it all began, to identify the power of Abba Yahuah's spirit. For it starts with him and it will end with him. Did I not read that? Did you not hear these words? Do you not believe these words? Let's continue, O Yashar'al. More scriptures. Here we see in John chapter 4, verse 23 and 24. Hear these words. Remember these words and know the power of Abba Yahuah's spirit, my brothers and sisters. It said, but the hour is coming and now is when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. The Almighty One is spirit, and those who worship him needs to worship him in spirit and in truth. Restoring dominion, my brothers and sisters, is going to begin with the quickening of our spirit that is joined with the Almighty Father in the name of Yahushua. And we will witness the restoring of assigned dominion. We will witness having the ability to demonstrate powers that the Most High has told us we have through him. Continue with me, O Yashar'al. More scriptures. Let's not forget the Spirit and the beginnings. Consider Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, the Almighty One created the heavens and the earth. That's Genesis 1:1. Let us also consider John chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. Consider these words, O Yashar'al. Believe these words. John chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Almighty One, and the Word was the Almighty One. He was in the beginning with the Almighty One. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. My brothers and sisters, if you search the scriptures, you'll see that the Almighty Father Yahuah's word was manifest in the flesh, in the person of Yahushua Mashiach. Continue to read all of John, first chapter, and discern the truth of how we are able to understand and grow in the power and might that was given us in the beginning, the assigned dominion. Remember our beginnings in that the Almighty Yahuah placed his breath in us. He breathed a spirit within us, O Yashar'al, and we who he knew before we were formed in our mother's womb were equipped with the power to rule according to the assignment of the Almighty Father. Let me read the following, my brothers and sisters. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 30. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 30. And the Almighty One said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule. Listen to this. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heaven, and over livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And the Almighty One created man in his image. In the image of the Almighty One, he created him, male and female. He created them. And the Almighty One blessed them. And the Almighty One said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the creeping creatures of the earth. And the Almighty One said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. And every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. These words speak of the dominion, the rulership, the crown that we receive from the Almighty Father to rule the earth. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there is structure in rulership. There is structure in dominion. Maybe these words will come to make sense when you come across the scripture that talks about he made us sovereigns and priests, or some will say kings and priests. Maybe these words will make sense, my brothers and sisters. But think about all this that he equipped us with. For are we not his children? And do not the scriptures tell us, or I should say they do tell us, that the Almighty Father changes not. So just as he empowered Adam and Eve, he empowered us. But we gave our dominion, we gave our crown to our flesh. And thus the battle came where upon the fall of man, the flesh warred against the spirit inside. I will speak more on this, my brothers and sisters. Genesis 2:7 saying, Yahuah, the Almighty One formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of life, of lives, and man became a living being. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, it is important for us to understand what has occurred. Have you given thought to what these words are? Do you believe that the Almighty Father quickened us, endowed us with power? Let me continue, O Yashar'al. Come with me to Lamentations 1:20. Prayerfully listen to these words, O Yashar'al. Lamentations 1:20. See, O Yahuah, that I am in distress. My inward parts are boiling up. My heart is overturned within me. For I have been very rebellious. From without the sword has bereaved. At home, it is like death. I wanted to bring this to you, my brothers and sisters. Some may not know that here we see the prophet talking about his inward parts. You see, it's more to our inward parts than the flesh, for in us is the inward man. Remember our beginnings, and that the Almighty Yahuah placed our inward man in our body, O Yashar'al. Continue with me. Luke 11:39 say, and the master said to him, now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness. You see, there's an inward part, my brothers and sisters, that we who are his, we who are made set apart, we who are washed in the blood of the Lamb, we find our inward parts clean. We find through his discipline and refinement, our outward parts begin to submit and yield. Will we stumble and fall along the way? Sure. As we in captivity, some of us don't know any better. In some cases, it makes it a difficult struggle. However, deliverance is coming, my brothers and sisters, where we will dress modestly, all of us, in such a way that we will know that we represent the Almighty Father, inwardly and outwardly. Shalum in the 7th chapter of Romans, and I want to share 7:22 through 25, speaks of a challenge, speaks of a battle. Let me read it to you, O Yashar'al. Romans chapter 7, verse 22 through 25. And this is Shalum speaking, commonly known as Paul. For I delight in the Torah of the Almighty One according to the inward man. But I see another Torah in my members, battling against the Torah of my mind. Torah means instructions, my brothers and sisters. He said, battling against the Torah of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the Torah of sin, which is in my members. You see, my brothers and sisters, the Torah of sin in our members is our brain. It's that muscle. It's our, and you can look these words up, cognitive, cognitive, cognitive factors. That's functionings of the brain. And I'm not a scientist, a biologist, nor a doctor. But what he's saying is there's something within his being that is causing him to have these instructions. And see, this is where how we're raised or environments we are in while in this captivity cause us to analyze and use our mind to figure things out. This is where academics think that if we just have the text, we can figure it out on our own. This is what Shaul is saying. Something is bringing instruction. And see, it's something where he was influenced by his surroundings. But he goes on to say this, my brothers and sisters. Wretched man that I am. In other words, yeah, I've been polluted. I've been conditioned. I've been programmed by some wicked people. And I see my brain, my cognitive factors are trying to deduce, trying to reason, trying to rationalize, trying to figure it out on his own. Oh, I'm wretched. Who should deliver me? And then he says this. And he identifies that cognitive factor, that brain functioning, if he followed the orders of the flesh, if he followed and continued to let the crown that was relinquished, the dominion that was relinquished to the flesh, if he let that rule, he sees that leads to death, because he says, who shall deliver me from this body of death? But hear these words, my brothers and sisters. Thanks to the Almighty One through Yahushua Messiah, our Master. So then with the mind, he's talking about his spirit. I myself, he's not talking about the brain, truly serve the Torah of the Almighty One, but with the flesh, the Torah of sin. So when he walked in the fullness of the Spirit of the Almighty One, he served the Almighty One and bring that flesh into subjection. But when he yields to the flesh, then it's the Torah, the instructions of sin. So, my brothers and sisters, we are on a track where this is the time to wake up and be restored by the power and might of the word of the Almighty Father. This is the time, my brothers and sisters, to recognize that we gave our dominion to the flesh. When the flesh told Adam and Eve they were naked. That was like the undershorts. Now some say, how is that? Undershorts didn't have a brain. Okay, a bit of a stretch. I'll yield to that. But I'm giving this whole thing of saying just how the spirit is superior to the flesh, but it allowed the flesh to say, I'm naked, I'm naked. But in the plan of the Almighty Father, we're getting ready to discover what is necessary to prepare us. Who would think that it's wrong to go through the processes of growth and training to prepare you to unleash the power and might that is within you? See, the scriptures even talk about milk before there's meat. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, restoring dominion, there are instructions. Takes time. Now, in some cases, is it possible to happen in the blink of an eye? Indeed. Even with David killing Goliath, it was the teachings that he received, such that he believed that the power and might was there. And in that teaching, the power and might of the Almighty Father says, grab that stone and put it in a sling and hit him dead in the forehead, right between the eyes, and he'll fall. And he believed, and he did. My brothers, I'm saying that to say that when it comes to the instructions of what's necessary to demonstrate power, now I believe in these end times, my brothers and sisters, our words will speak words of power, and we will step back and witness the power and might of the Almighty Father. We will step back and watch the grounds opening up and rivers drain so we can cross. We will step back after speaking the power and might within us, and we will see mountains move, trees move. We will see much occur through the power and might by speaking it in the name of Yahusha. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, our dominion in the name of Yahusha has been restored, and each passing day we will see the restoring of our dominion, the rulership that was assigned to us, the power that we have. Let me continue, my brothers and sisters. Let me read the following. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6 through 11. It reads as follows. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open. See, now their physical eyes are coming open, and they knew that they were naked. See, this is when the relinquishing of dominion, of rulership. Remember the Most High had originally said, you're to rule over the sea, the birds. Remember I read that. But see, now they want to let their eyes tell them what to do. Their eyes were open, they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. So they did it. I think I said Yahuah gave it to them, but he gave them the plants. He gave them rulership over the trees. So they're going to cover themselves up because their brain told them they were naked. And they heard the voice of Yahuah, the Almighty One, walking about in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuah, the Almighty One, among the trees of the garden. See, that's their brain saying, we need to hide. Spirit forgetting so quickly how it was the Almighty Father Yahuah that gave life, that created, that gave dominion, that gave rulership. So it's the brain saying, we can walk, we can move, and we can get under that tree. They start looking at things from a physiological perspective beyond what they should have. They gave dominion away. You see, and then Yahuah, the Almighty One, called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree which I have commanded you that you should not eat? Understand this, my brothers and sisters. He who created him, he knew that. This was a chance for Adam to begin to confess his faults and begin the path towards restoration, because he knew punishment was coming. So I say to you, O Yashar'al, this was like giving our crown. And I'm going to tie this because, see, this coronavirus, COVID-19, I believe it's the crown of diseases. If you add up all the diseases and top them off with COVID-19, this is the crown. It attacks the coronaviruses. If you look up corona, you'll see the word crown. And I believe all the viruses, coronaviruses, are attacking where breath and water meets. It's attacking our lungs. Where we breathe and water in our body meets and blood is formed to nourish these physical bodies. So it wants us to be distracted by all of this. It wants us to see that this is that ultimate battle to try to prevent us from recognizing that our spiritual crown, our spiritual dominion will take its rightful place during these end times and will bring this flesh into subjection in spite of the attacks. I believe, O Yashar'al, that we will witness how we gave our assigned dominion away and how it is being restored and has been restored. We will awaken beyond measure, O Yashar'al. Let me continue. My brothers and sisters, consider these words. Bear with me a second. My brothers and sisters, yes, we are facing some of the most challenging of times. Restoration has begun. Discipline has begun. Consider these words, my brothers and sisters. Luke 12:48 say, but he who did not know, yet did what deserved flogging, shall be beaten with few. And everyone to whom much is given, from him much shall be demanded. And to whom much has been entrusted, from him much more shall be asked. My brothers and sisters, it is important to understand the power and might of the Almighty Father. It is important for us to understand how obeying him is critical to witness his deliverance. It is important for us to recognize why we should consider these words and discern the power and responsibilities that are being restored to us by the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha. You have the power within you, O set apart Yashar'al, and we are being refined and disciplined to be used to unleash the power that is within. By the words we speak out of obedience to the Spirit of Yahuah, we will recognize them being followed with power and actions beyond our imaginations, beyond what we could have ever thought would happen through us. Yes, you, O Yashar'al. Pray and watch. Let me continue. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, we who are chosen will demonstrate the meaning of restored dominion. We will demonstrate proof. We will be able to witness brothers and sisters, leaders, speak with such power. We will see the phenomenal structure of an awakening nation as we find ourselves being gathered from the four corners of the earth. Consider these words, O Yashar'al. John 14:12 says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. Greater works. Could that include moving mountains, trees? Could that include causing earthquakes? Do you know that mountains are formed by earthquakes? Who have given thought to when Matthew 24th chapter, when it says there to be earthquake in diverse places? Who's given thought that that may also be by the mouth and the voice of one being used by him to drain the river so that we can cross dry land, or to open the sinkhole behind us after we've crossed the path so they could not come after us? You see, my brothers and sisters, connecting the power, say greater works. Many think that the greater works is just healing and casting out demons. Greater works. Greater works mean that he will work within us to do and say any and everything that is set apart, ordered by him, and the world will witness the children of the Most High rise up. What work do you believe will take place during end times? Consider the final exodus and or possible martyrdom. Consider what it would take for 144,000 Hebrews, Abraham, and great multitude mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter to come together in unity. Work, details, processes, power and might from the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, I cannot stress enough the need to begin to recognize the discipline of the Almighty Father. Remember, it is written, like in the days of Noah, in the days of Lot, men disregarded responsibilities. They disregarded warnings. But there were those who were saved. So I ask you, my brothers and sisters, do you think just saying, I'm going to be saved, y'all's going to take care of me, y'all's going to save me, do you think that's enough? Have you given thought to how the Almighty Father will take care of you? Would he bring you home? Are you saying, okay, I look forward to my physical death and I'll be in the bosom of Yahuah? Do you look forward to him saying you must move to where I want to place you and represent me where I tell you I want you to represent? Or you must be among those that are gathered from the four corners of the earth before the physical return of Yahushua. It's time, my brothers and sisters, to learn how to vet and identify those who are walking in obedience versus those who are trying to boast their egos or boast ownership of the leadership that they have. In other words, people that run around saying, this is my ministry, this is my logo, this is mine, get your own, this is mine, I'm over here, I'm doing this, you don't like what I'm doing, go somewhere else. My brothers and sisters, the leader of the Almighty Father should be able to yield and discern and serve the flock and identify what needs to be purged from the flock. Nowhere do we see in Scripture someone saying, this is my ministry, this is your ministry, get your own. Nowhere do we see in Scripture where they held up a logo. Yes, were there, what do they call them, the shields with the logo on it, the armament, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, there were groups that put something on the shield to say, yeah, this is my, what was it, armament? I can't remember the name. Somebody might figure it out. But my case in point is we do not own anyone. And it is not my ministry. What we do, we who are indeed drawn by the Almighty Father, are servants to serve, to teach, to lead, to protect, to guard, to demonstrate the power and might of the Almighty Father, Yahuah working in us and through us. In the name of Yahushua, hear these words, O Yashar'al. Let me continue. Come with me to Luke 17, verse 26 through 30. You see, my brothers and sisters, ignoring the Almighty Yahuah's instruction will prove to be fatal. Though I have Luke 17, I also want you to visit Numbers 16 chapter and see how a sinkhole opened up the rebellious against the leadership of the Almighty Father, and it was fatal. Hear these words, O Yashar'al. Luke 17:26-30 reads, and as it came to be in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the days of the son of Adam. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. And likewise, as it came to be in the days of Lot, they were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. It shall be the same in the day of the son of Adam, in the day the son of Adam is revealed. My brothers and sisters, for some, they will face fatal actions that will occur soon and very soon. As we witness end times unfold, my brothers and sisters, there will be those who will disregard the voice of the Almighty Father, will disregard the leaders, will disregard the messages that may come from someone else in the body of Yashar'al. You see, each of us, and we are instructed to submit ourselves one to another. Are you not aware of Ephesians 5:21? It's not just talking about husband and wife relationship. You see, for the assembly of Yahusha is the bride of Yahusha. And as vessels or temples of the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name, we will submit as he speaks through us one towards another. Individuals who demonstrate obedience to Abba Yahuah will prove to be those that are led by him. Pray, O Yashar'al. These times will bring about all that is necessary to encourage you, me, and us to pray earnestly and know how to respond with all correctness. Let me read Romans 8:14. It says, for as many as led by the Spirit of the Almighty One, these are the sons of the Almighty One. And we are about to see how sons of the Almighty One have the power to move trees, mountains, to dry up rivers, to cause rivers to turn to blood, to stop the rain, to bring the plagues, to remove the plagues, to protect and to destroy. At the mouth of those who are obedient to the Almighty Father, he will prove his power in us, O Yashar'al. Are we not aware in Matthew 4:19, he said to them, follow me and I shall make you fishers of men. So out of obedience to him, we will find the drawing power of the Almighty Father. As we find in our obedience, we will lift up Yahusha, the ultimate rod of the Almighty Father, our sovereign, which some will say king. Let me read Luke 5:4-7. It reads, and when he ceased speaking, he said to Shimon, pull out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Shimon, some will say to Simon Peter, answered, said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and caught none. But at your word, I shall let down a net. And when they did so, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets were breaking, and they motioned to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats so that they were sinking. Please note, my brothers and sisters, Matthew 4:19 says, I'll make you fishers of men. Luke 5 talks about launching into the deep. You see, we must go beyond milk. We must go beyond the meat. We must go to the point of understanding what restored assigned dominion means. Restored dominion as assigned by the Almighty Father means. We must go to the point of the spirit, the inward man, the power and might. Please note that out of obedience came abundance and a demonstration of dominion. They dominated the fish that were in the net. Soon and very soon, you will see one connection will be as we grow in maturity as we launch into the deep and speak of the deep things that the Most High reveals to us to share with one another, to grow strong in Him, to grow strong in that dominion that is being restored, that dominion that was assigned, that rulership, that crown that He gave us. We will witness a great multitude come, just like they got many fish and the boats was overflowed out of obedience. We will witness as the 144,000 and great multitude come. It will be the result of the power and evidence that goes forth from the Almighty Father, from His chosen ones. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, end times are real. Do not fret. Remember, as many as led became the sons of the Almighty One. Let me continue. And I thank you for your patience and salute your desire to hear, O Yashar'al. Hear. Let me read Matthew 17th chapter, verse 20. The time is now to discern assigned dominion, power, O Yashar'al, and speak and witness evidence. Matthew 17:20 says, and Yahushua said to them, because of your belief, your unbelief rather, because of your unbelief, for truly I say to you, if you have belief as a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and no matter shall be impossible for you. Do you know that saying to a mountain move is ordering an earthquake? Can you imagine a mountain moving and the ground's not shaking? And how far would that shake stretch? And why are you ordering the mountain to move? You see, Yashar'al, here the Messiah, the Mashiach is telling us there will become days as I draw you from the four corners of the earth, where you will order mountains to move. You will order rivers to drain. You will order rivers to flood. Remember, there was a dominion given us that we do not even recognize, but we will in the coming of days. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. Power is about to be demonstrated in such a way we will find it amazing and phenomenal. Luke 17:6 says, and the Master said, if you have belief as a mustard seed, you will say to this mulberry tree, be pulled up by the roots and be planted in the sea, and it will obey you. I say, my brothers and sisters, assigned dominion, power. Matthew 21 and 22 says, and Yahushua answered said to them, truly I say to you, if you have belief and do not doubt, you should not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say to the mountain, be removed and be thrown into the sea, it shall be done. And whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. My brothers and sisters, what he is saying when he say ask in prayer is asking prayer according to the will and the direction of the Almighty Father, according to what he is ordering of us. You see, it's not that we can just say this. See, it's not like a kid just playing, say, oops, or I got the power for fire. Hey, mountain, jump over the sea. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think about such earthquake would kill some of my brothers that haven't crossed over yet. You see, he's not giving us power to be reckless. So we don't have this that we can just call things, just recklessly do things and think we can use his power. It's his power working in us, and he will confirm and bring evidence and proof. So when we pray and ask the things that he's speaking of, we must make sure we're mindful of the way of the Most High and what he's saying so that we're praying according to his will. Now, for those of you who are listening and have not read ahead of what's on the slide, what I'm about to read is at the bottom. 1 John 5:13 through 15. Consider these words, Yashar'al. For assigned dominion requires responsibility and obedience and discernment. 1 John 5:13 through 15. It reads, I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of the Almighty One, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of the Almighty One. And this is the boldness that we have in him. Now hear these words carefully, my brothers and sisters. that if we ask whatever according to his desire, let me say that again, according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. So please note, my brothers and sisters, out of obedience came abundance of set-apart power, reflecting our assigned dominion, but it must be according to the will of the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, continue to demonstrate patience. It's important, for the day will come when you will want to order mountains move, trees to move, to rain, blood to hit the waters, dry ground, food, birds falling into your laps, just as the quail came for those who came out of Mitzrayim, water coming out rocks. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. I cannot stress enough. End times will prove it is time to discover and act. It is time to recognize restored dominion. So the crown that we have is the crown that the Most High Father gave us through Yahushua Mashiach. It is a crown to rule as we were instructed in the beginning. And I say the structure that we're getting ready to witness as the gathering began to take place, we will see structure and discipline. We will see what we are to rule over, how we are to instruct and lead. For rulership is serving to bring about the magnification of the presence of the Almighty Father. The time is now. Ask questions, my brothers and sisters. Pray earnestly. Seek wise counsel. I cannot stress enough, my brothers and sisters, the things that the Most High has given us to rule over. We will rule over one another when we subject ourselves to one another and allow the Spirit of Yahusha to flow through us one towards another and acknowledge that. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. We will learn how to rule over all that is assigned by the Almighty Father Yahuah. End times are here. Make no mistake. With each passing moment, the moments we spend in entertainment, the moments we spend in just going through ritualistic religious gatherings in such a way where we're just doing the same thing over and over, with some leaders void of discerning that in some cases it's become a more gathering place where people can meet up. If you were to ask yourselves right now, if you were to ask questions to people who went to any of these gatherings, were there anyone abused? Did any man take advantage of a woman? Did any woman seduce a man during these gatherings? Now the leaders probably say, I can't control that. Sure you can. Discern those who you call out to. Have protocols. Otherwise, you're just saying it's open. If you got the dollars, come on to Passover. If you got the money, first come, first serve. We're about to fill up. If there's no vetting, if there's no instruction, if there's no way that you take to identify those being drawn of the Almighty Father, then you invite any and everything into your environment. Now, if it's indeed an environment where you're just saying, I'm proclaiming the set-apart news of the Almighty Father in the name of Yahushua, I'm proclaiming the teachings, and those who are drawn to hear that come, but warn people, there may be some wicked ones, because this is an open invitation for me to speak as I believe I should speak. Now, many of you might say, what? I say to you, my brothers and sisters, this is a time for us to know what the Spirit of Yahuah is saying to the one in the mirror, and then moving on that. This is a time to discern. And if we go to such gatherings, go with a prayerful mind. Not even even more so prayerful mind. But ask the question, how will I be protected? If a man is trying to seduce me, if a woman is trying to seduce me, if wickedness is trying to rear its head after the events are gone, after we go back to our tents or to our hotel rooms, how can I have protection? What is the protocol to protect me against such if I need help? You see, my brothers and sisters, I've yet to see any across any religious spectrum say in their massive gatherings that these are the protocols that we will execute in an effort to protect you in set apartness and guard you in set apartness. These are the things and teachings we want to give you to equip you so you can be able to discern if wickedness shows its ugly head. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. Restoring dominion. That crown. You see, the Almighty Father wouldn't have said to Adam to rule over all creeping things, lands, and the earth without giving him the power and abilities to do so. It was a crown, my brothers and sisters. But it was a crown not here where I'm pointing. It was actually a crown, his spirit, in that inward body. That was the crown. And Adam gave the crown to the brain and said, I'm naked. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. When we begin to recognize the power of the inward man, we will recognize the presence of the Spirit of Yahuah within us. We will recognize that there are plans that he has set forth, plans that will come to be, plans that will gradually prove that the components of a set-apart nation is being brought together to be fitly joined together. Watch, O Yashar'al. The day is coming. The days are here where we will shout hallelujah as our eyes are open to what is to come. End times will prove responsibilities and dominion. End time will prove that these come with plans. And we will learn how to vet and ask questions and examine the plans and make sure we are not being misled. And we will witness the rise of 144,000 sooner than some may believe. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. White Rose family has a plan that will contribute towards deliverance, relocation, and lifestyle changes. A plan that will prove that there will be those included and those left behind. A plan that will build a set-apart team of leaders proven to be chosen by the Spirit of the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name. A plan to develop an information and resource center, physically and spiritually, my brothers and sisters, where you can seek wise counsel from those who are walking in obedience, those who are not afraid to yield to when the Spirit of Yahusha is moving through them, to listen, to serve, to lead, to instruct, to build a team with diverse skill sets that will teach different individuals engineering skills, mechanical skills, growing skills, management skills, skills that we might not even imagine have value, skills such as taking care of children, instructing the young. Do we understand what a mentor is from a set-apart perspective? To purchase land in Virginia, where I believe will be the exit point for when we gather together to lead towards the promised land. To that point where I think the focal, centrist point will be the true Mount Sinai, currently known as Jabal al, situated in the northwest quadrant of Saudi Arabia. I believe, O Yashar'al, that the journey will come and there will be a mass exodus from the Western Hemisphere that will part from the state of Virginia. I believe those outside of the Western Hemisphere will find themselves journeying to the outer perimeters of the current countries that they're in and moving towards the promised land. And they will witness leadership rise up. They will witness and identify instruction for moving towards Jabal al, for moving towards the promised land. And there will be safe zones, my brothers and sisters, as we migrate where we can stop and fuel up and rest up and strengthen up. Though they may be for a season until widespread destruction and death come, wouldn't you want to be able to identify such safe zones? Are you hearing any plans? Do you think that Aaron and Moses, or Moses and Aaron, or Musa and Aharon took the instructions from the Almighty Father and secretly said, let's go talk to the elders because we can ready to get out of here? No, my brothers and sisters. The ultimate plan when it comes to the Exodus are plans that will be made known to the masses, that are being drawn to be included in what the Most High has promised. To provide guidance and support for completing the journey, to provide guidance for the inner court life, the life of set apartness, as we find ourselves waiting on Yahushua Mashiach. White Rose family, for I believe the Most High has revealed to me much that will connect with others. And I believe in the power of Isaiah 55:11, that no words from the Most High will return to him void or empty. They will do what they were designed to do. And with any plan, O Yashar'al, there are costs. I say to you, count the cost, my brothers and sisters. Count what must be sacrificed, what must be given, what must be built up, what actions must occur. Use it or lose it. Yes, whether it be finances or wealth, whether it be skills, whether it be physical abilities. The time is now to identify plans that the Most High have unfolding and what it is that he desires of you. Remember Matthew chapter 25, 14 through 20, verse 14 through 30. Reality and truth, O Yashar'al. You want to get caught up on, oh, he can ask me better than that? No, I'm speaking words as I am compelled. If you believe I'm presenting anything that requires, that represent life, that draws you closer to him, that makes you want to serve him and be strengthened in him, then consider subscribing. By subscribing, it will create an environment where I can easily share links to this channel, O Yashar'al. Share. Others might receive something you miss. Others might miss something you receive. And through talking about it, if you believe you are gathered to talk about it, you may discover things that strengthen you even further as the Almighty Father directs. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. And as you can see, White Rose family, Cash App I've set up. PayPal, there's other ways to contribute. But more than anything, vet, ask me, examine, ask questions. The terms on the bottom of the screen are terms that can help trigger questions, discussion. Let us examine ourselves, the one in the mirror, and let us examine one another. End times are here, my brothers and sisters. Are you ready? Are you ready to accept what the Almighty Father has for his children? Are you ready to respond? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. I cannot stress enough how end times are here. What say you, my brothers and sisters? What is your position? I see that I had a mistake here, so bear with me as I correct this, as I bring this segment to a close. You see, Yashar'al, it's time. It's time, my brothers and sisters. It's time to discover our original dominion assignments. It's time to discover the power of the Spirit within. It's time to recognize the living presence of the Almighty Father. It's time to recognize that he has indeed embraced us, given us life. It's time to recognize that what happened yesterday and behind us, we cannot go back and change that. It's time to look forward Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, as end times ramp up, as widespread destruction and death come, as disease ramp up, as famine and food shortages, as our lifestyles begin to change, as we find ourselves challenged with adapting and adjusting to what is necessary to fulfill what is written. As we see that occurring, my brothers and sisters, it's going to be important that we remember the words to look forward. Keep our eyelids face forward, looking, saying, what's next? What do you want me to do? What is expected of me? To know when we stumble and fall, don't fall into depression. Don't fall into the weight. I made a mistake. I stumbled. I fall. I said the wrong thing. Don't fall into that. If that happened, repent quickly. Ask for forgiveness quickly. Get under the blood and recognize the power of the blood of the Lamb, Yahushua, quickly. And as quickly as you do, we do, I do, we can rise up anew, strong in the power of the Almighty Father Spirit working in us and through us, and not looking back. O Yashar'al, heed these words, restoring dominion. And we will see that the discipline that we are receiving, the refinement that we are receiving, is prepping us for what's to come. And then upon Judgment Day, my brothers and sisters, we will recognize who we will be, how we will be, for we will see the Almighty Father. We will see Yahusha as he is, and we shall be as he has instructed us to be. These are the days of restoring dominion. And there's so much more to say in instructions to what is about to happen, O Yashar'al. So I invite you to share, to subscribe, to seek to discern what else is ahead of us. On that note, I salute your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set apartness. I pursue more than anything your desire to do the will of the Almighty Father and recognize that no one can come to the Father except through Yahushua HaMashiach. To you, O Yashar'al, gird up, deliverance comes in more ways than we can imagine. The power and might of the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahushua's name will be magnified as we face these challenging times. I say to you, comfort will come in understanding that it is the Most High's plan that is unfolding, and knowing how to focus on him and serve and worship and obey him. So I say in the name of Yahushua, Shalum.